If you're a React developer, you're going to be dealing with state management a lot. And the most common way to do this is with the useState hook. So you can see here, I've wired up useState to a basic text input, and this allows me to just maintain some state as I enter it and persist it to other parts of the application as long as they're scoped within this same component. But what you'll notice is that the state is scoped to this component, and each time it loads in, it's going to get reset back to that default value. So you can see here, if I refresh the page, that state's going to go away. I can edit the state and it gets maintained. I refresh the page and it goes away. So there's a few other ways in React that we can manage state, and it helps us deal with other types of scenarios. So one way is React Query. And what React Query aims to accomplish is synchronizing state between our client-side application and data that's on the server. So you can see here I have two basic functions to fetch and update data that's on the server, and I'm using React Query, which has two built-in hooks. One is useQuery, and this allows me to fetch data from the server, and the other is useMutation, which allows me to update data on the server. I've wired up these hooks in a super similar way to a text input, and what this allows me to do is to update my state, aka update the value, and when I hit save, it's going to update that state on the actual server. So you can see here when I reload the page, this is going to load in from the server, and it's the value I previously set. So I can change it again. And this is a way that we can actually persist state between page reloads. However, it does have a bit of overhead, both performance-wise and storage-wise, because we have to actually store this information on the server and fetch it every time. So what if we want to persist state between page reloads, but we don't want to deal with a server or database or anything like that? That's where local storage comes in. Local storage is a great API that's provided straight out the box from JavaScript, which essentially works like a dictionary or a hash map or some sort of cache where we can set an item using a key. We can give a string value, which of course in JavaScript, JSON stringify allows us to turn any value into a string. And then similarly, we can retrieve the item using that key. So here I've written a simple useLocalStorage hook, which allows us to treat data that's stored in local storage as if it were state data from useState in React. Once again, I've wired it up to a simple text input, and as you can see, this will behave super similarly to useState does above, but with one key difference. When I refresh the page, boom, useState is gone, and useLocalStorage has persisted because that data is actually stored in our Chrome browser here. But here's where it gets a little tricky. What if I add some state in useState and on the server and in local storage, and then I want to send this link to somebody else? So here I'll go ahead and open up an incognito window. When this person gets it, all the state's gone. I mean, the server state is there, but hopefully we have a more complex application than this, and the server state is going to be somewhat user specific. So I'm sure they'd be seeing something different here. What I mean is there a way that we can save state and persist it between shares of our application? That's where query params comes in. So here I've written another custom hook, use query param. And what this does is rather than setting values on local storage, it's setting URL search params and fetching them. So what a URL search param is it's just whenever you get this little question mark and then a variable name in your URL bar. And I'll show you what I mean. So here I've wired it up to another text input. And when I type, you can see that update is reflected up in the actual URL bar. You can see as I'm typing and deleting, it's getting updated. And what this allows us to do is actually not only refresh and maintain that state because it's still in our URL bar, but I can copy this URL, send it to my friend, and when they open the website, they're going to see the exact same state. Now, if I wanted to get rid of this, I could do it programmatically, or I could actually come in here and select this variable name and delete it out, and you'll see the state goes away. But this use query param gives us a really cool way to maintain the state in the actual URL so that when we share it, we get that deep sharing where the actual application state is shared. So I hope that gives you a nice little overview of state management in React. I think you have some super powerful tools in your toolkit here. useState is going to allow you to maintain state localized to just one component in your React app. React Query is going to allow you to synchronize state between your client-side React app and your server-side application. useLocalStorage is going to allow you to save state that's persisted between page loads because it's stored in your actual local browser. and use query param is going to allow you to similarly store state that persists between page loads, but that's actually shareable because it's stored in that URL bar itself. So I'm going to share all the code out there in a gist so that you can take a look at it, but I hope this helps and thank you for watching.